To another RainBNB Decentralized Community Building campaign. Now, today we are going to do it a bit different. We'll look at we'll rather break down cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, and their immediate financial impact for Africans, specifically through RainBNB's community-driven CHAMA model with real-life African contexts or examples and experiences. Okay, so what is blockchain and what is blockchain technology? Now, blockchain is a decentralized, distributed digital ledger that records transaction across many computers in such a way that these registered transactions cannot be altered by anyone or anything. Okay? So what is blockchain technology as well? Now, blockchain technology refers to the underlying framework and system that enables the operation of blockchain. Okay? So blockchain, if I can break it down, is a decentralized. Now, decentralized, like I always explain, it means public. Decentralized means it has been distributed. So it's a decentralized, distributed digital ledger. Now, distribution, I believe we all understand what to distribute means. Niku, peana, or to distribute. Okay? Now, digital ledger, we all understand what a ledger is basically a system of record of all transactions. Okay, so this is a digital ledger, meaning it exists. It's available in the digital space or in the internet. So it's a digital ledger that records all transactions. Now, this record of those transactions, this ledger, is what we refer to as a block. So each time unafanya transaction, or when you make a transaction, or let me call it a transfer of Bitcoin more specifically, because it is a more common token or coin that is more familiar with many people. Now, when you're making a transfer of Bitcoin from your wallet to someone else's wallet, there's a record of that transaction. You see, similar to how we have M-Pesa transactions. Now, when you're sending money from your M-Pesa number or your mobile phone to someone else's M-Pesa number, that transaction, those details in that transaction that you have made is what we call a ledger. AMA in the digital space is referred to as a block. Because once you make a transaction, it is recorded and it is no longer private. In the digital space, when you're sending money or cryptocurrencies from one person or one wallet to another, either peer-to-peer, or you're sending from your wallet to an exchange so that you can convert it to local currency or for any other purpose, those transactions are recorded, and that record is usually public. That's why it's called a decentralized, distributed digital ledger. So from the word decentralized, meaning public, digital, or rather public distributed digital ledger. Now, these transactions, once they are distributed, they form a block. Now, this block is connected to another transacted transaction, or rather another block of transaction that was probably done by someone else, or even you as well. Because with blockchain, you can actually do multiple transactions, either concurrently, maybe one after the other, and you will see all those transactions in the public ledger. This is all accessible through either BlockScan or BSC scan, and many other ways you can actually access, or rather see, these transactions, or rather access them from the public domain. Now, have you ever maybe noticed that besides doing those transactions, M-Pesa transactions, maybe from your number to a till number, pay bill, or someone else's number, that information or that transaction or that ledger is usually private. But who retains that information of yours? Assuming maybe you have an account Why is it that you have, or rather you are required to register that account, both with your maybe ID number details, as well as place of residence and many other information or requirements? This is because that is not your money, that is their money. So they need to monitor and have control of everything or anything that you do, whether it's online or in physical places, because that money is made by the central government. So that means it is not owned by you, but by them. But now, when we come to blockchain-based cryptocurrencies, those are public assets. That means it has no central authority or entity that controls it. And therefore, once you have access or once you own any of those assets, that means you have full control over them. No government or no central entity can ever hold or take that away from you simply because you have full authority or ownership over those assets. So that's mainly the difference between decentralization and centralization. All right? And that is basically the power of blockchain technology. So blockchain technology is basically the framework ama hizo systems zina allow for blockchain to thrive. So some of the things that allow the operation of blockchain include decentralization. Now, like I have said, decentralization means public. It's no longer centralized. You know, when something is centralized, that means it's either private or is controlled by a group of individuals, probably a small group of individuals, running all the way from the president to the MCAs and the likes. So those people have control over your money. And that is why it is very possible for them to loot, embezzle, and defraud public resources without even them flinching a bit. Because hiyo pesa si yako, ni ya serikali. Nani yako kwa serikali? Si ni wao, si wewe. So they can control that money that you give out in form of tax. Whether purchasing goods here and there, kwa duka, nini, you are paying your tax. Alright? The other way is transparency. Now, transactions are very visible and verifiable by all participants. Like I said, once you make a transaction in the blockchain space, everything is made public except now your own personal information, because with the blockchain technology, you are not required by anyone to register any personal information whatsoever. The only requirement is just downloading a wallet and storing those assets in that wallet where no one has any information of. But when it comes to instances of maybe converting those assets into local currency, that's a whole different story, because now you have to deal with what we call a centralized exchange. A good example or a perfect example of a centralized exchange is Binance. Binance is actually one of the largest cryptocurrency exchanges in the whole world. And it's accessible in many, if not most countries around the globe. Yeah, so that's the only time you would be required maybe to register that account of yours with your personal details. Because when you're dealing with local currencies or fiat currencies, these are centralized assets. This platform has no control over them. So that means you have to be registered, do your KYC, so that they know exactly who they are dealing with. And if anything, maybe if any situation arises and they are required to provide information because they are dealing with centralized assets, which is cash, yeah, they should be accountable for that, providing information of that specific client, assuming if they're dealing in things like such as money laundering and the likes. Right? So that is how basically blockchain technology counters this centralization. Immutability is the other reason, because once data is added to the blockchain, it cannot be changed. And this is why when I started with explaining what blockchain is, I said that blockchain is a decentralized, distributed, so it's a publicly distributed digital ledger that records all transactions across many computers, many, not one, many. With one, it is easy for you to manipulate. You just get a tech guru who goes behind the desk and, does his thing, and easily you can change those transaction details. But with cryptocurrency, you cannot, because these transactions have been registered in such a way that it is available or accessible publicly. So once it's public out there, you cannot recall it and try and re-edit or manipulate the system. It's impossible. You cannot do that. And that is why cryptocurrency or blockchain technology in general is so powerful. Okay? So the other one is security. Cryptographic techniques ensure secure and tamper-proof recording of transaction. Now remember, when a transaction is made, a block is formed. Now this block is linked to another previous transaction, either done by you or someone else anywhere around the world. So all these transactions all these blocks are formed and linked together to form a block chain. Ndio hiyo chain sasa unaona ya hizo mablocks, to show you all the chain of all those transactions that have been happening, either through that address or whatever address, but within that blockchain network. So everything is publicly available and visible to anyone and everyone from anywhere in the world. Not just private to you and maybe the bank, or to you and the person you have sent an M-Pesa. Apana. It doesn't work with how centralization is. Decentralization is the power and is what brings us equality. Okay? And that is why in many countries abroad, they have started to adopt blockchain technology, especially in fields of election. And I think it would also be a good step if Kenya would adopt such technology to help us fight, vote theft. Ile kuiba kura. With blockchain, once a vote is cast, it is made public. So hakuna haja ya polling stations. Okay, polling stations are necessary for you to go and vote. Once you've voted, see, everything is made public. Now you can see exactly who the citizens have chosen and who they have not. So hawawezi iba ama waende wafiche kura wazi exchange na zile ambazo walizivote walichagua wenyewe in favor of their own personal candidate. So that is how powerful blockchain technology is. It cannot be altered. The only thing that probably people can mess around with is a domain. Website. You see, maybe website is just an interface to allow you to easily maneuver around. You see, like, for example, a laptop. When you access, maybe you're given a certain website to access. Your website information, your kitu una access, is an interface basically that helps you now to understand exactly what that platform is all about. But the back end system is what cannot be altered. Now I'm talking in blockchain, from blockchain aspect. Now what can be altered is the interface, just say your domain, web server or service. But anything that has been deployed in the blockchain ecosystem cannot be manipulated, cannot be hacked, and cannot be altered in any form or way. Doesn't matter how good you are in hacking or as a black hat hacker. Alright? And then finally we have smart contracts. So smart contracts are self-executing contracts with terms directly written into code. And this is where RainBNB comes in. Now, RainBNB is a smart contract that has already been given predefined rules that if those conditions are met, the outcome is reward or gifts. It's as simple as that. So basically it's like what you would relate to as AI, artificial intelligence. With AI, you have already coded it with certain information. So it has all that knowledge. So you ask it a question, it answers you according to the algorithm that has been programmed into it. How see you? Yes. So I believe until there we have a slight grasp of what blockchain technology, and a bit of crypto as I dive also into what cryptocurrencies are. But cryptocurrencies are what basically are formed in blockchain and blockchain technology. So blockchain technology powers cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, BNB, which now we are using now to gift each other in RainBNB Decentralized Community Building CHAMA. But it's also used in supply chain tracking, finance, healthcare, voting systems like I've described here, and many more. So there are countries that have already adopted blockchain technology and put it into voting. Sasa hapo huwezi iba, you cannot steal votes anymore. So once a vote is cast, everyone who has access to that platform can easily see who has won and who has lost bitterly. Okay? So let's move on to cryptocurrency. So we've understood by now that blockchain technology is what powers cryptocurrency. Because let me go back a bit to when a block is formed. Now, remember, what forms a block is those transactions. So once those transactions are verified, see, in a form your block. After your verification, there's something called mining. Mining is what is done when a machine verifies these transactions and it is rewarded. Now this reward comes in form of Bitcoin, 1 Bitcoin. So miners are machines, powerful machines that have been specifically designed to confirm or to verify basically transactions that are happening across the blockchain ecosystem. Now, when these machines verify these transactions by solving mathematical problems, because it's all math, it's ones and zeros, so the quickest machine or the quickest mining equipment that solves this mathematical issue to form or to verify that transaction is now rewarded. Once it has verified that transaction, is rewarded by in form of Bitcoin, and that is what now we call mining. So for you now to get Bitcoin, you have to verify a transaction. It's basically like going into a gold mine. Unachimba, ukipata hiyo gold, hiyo ndo reward yako for digging and trying to search for that asset. Okay? So from that understanding, when a block is formed, those miners are rewarded an asset, and this asset is usually in form of Bitcoin. And that is how Bitcoin come into existence, through verification of transactions. It's as simple as that. So now this blockchain technology, after a block is formed, now through that underlying framework or those systems, it is what now powers cryptocurrency. It is what now brings cryptos into existence. And that is how the first cryptocurrency asset in the whole world came into existence, through mining. Before, there were no specialized or powerful machines. Actually, you could mine with your own desktop, hata si laptop. And this was back in 2009 when Bitcoin, was released into the public. Now, you could, most people had no understanding of what this thing was or how powerful it really is up to date. But if for those who adopted blockchain and cryptocurrencies back then, were able to mine using their own desktops and easily, unapata to Bitcoins. Actually, hiyo wakati ulikuwa unapata around 50 something BTC. When just one block is formed. Once one block is formed, unakula around 50 something BTC. So over the years, after what we call Bitcoin halving, which happens every 4 years, the value halvens, or rather the reward is cut in half. So from 50, I think 54 or 50 something, it went to 20, I think 25 or so. Now from 25 it went down to I think 12.5, if I'm not wrong. From that it has now halved again to around, I think, 6 point something. Yeah, so Bitcoin keeps halving every 4 years, and that is how now Bitcoin comes into existence and is able now to circulate in the economy or ecosystem when someone sells it for either monetary exchange or something else, or maybe to purchase other assets. So those are the options that people can choose to use those assets as they please. All right. So cryptocurrencies are simplified for us Africans. Now, crypto is digital money. Just like how you'd send airtime or M-Pesa to a friend or family, maybe a mom, dad, maybe you live within the city, and your folks stay maybe a few kilometers or maybe hundreds of kilometers away. And the only way maybe you can be able to support them or assist them is sending them money through mobile transfer. Similar case. But now with cryptocurrency, it is borderless. You see, with the transfer of local currencies, it's very hard to do border transactions. Assuming maybe you're living in a different country, assuming maybe you're in Ghana or Nigeria, and your parents stay here in Kenya. Now it can be very challenging when doing a local transfer, because you cannot send money via your local number or mode of transaction or mode of transfer, as maybe like M-Pesa, for example. So it will now opt you now to go to the bank, make that transfer. It gets to that person's bank in here, right here in your local country. Then now you can now they can now access those funds after they have now withdrawn from their local bank accounts. So that's a very different case. But with the cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, it is global, the transfer is instant, and with little to almost no fees, almost none. More specifically, RainBNB, because we're using a network called Optimism Network. Now, Optimism Network has lightning fast transactions. It does almost 10,000 transactions per second. 10K, bro. I'm not talking about 5, 10, or 100. I'm talking about 10,000 transactions per second. These are all verified by machines doing that mining. Okay? Which now in turn get rewarded those crypto assets. So yeah. So why is cryptocurrency powerful for Africans? Number one, you see, when you're doing a bank transfer, it would require you to wait for a few days before those funds get to the local bank, and for your parents now to access it from the local bank and withdraw it to the, either mobile wallets or any other way, either in form of cash or whatever option they choose. But now with crypto, it does away with the need of using banks. Because what you can do is, you're in Nigeria, or maybe South Africa, or even somewhere in Egypt. You can decide, hey, why don't I tell my folks about this crypto asset, so that now they can download a wallet and a cryptocurrency exchange. An exchange. Hapa hakuna bank wanaenda. They're not going to any form of bank. They're downloading an exchange. So you from your end convert that currency or that fiat money into crypto by buying it from those vendors on the exchange, available on the exchange, P2P exchange. Then now once you have bought the asset, whether in form of USDT, BTC, BNB, Ethereum, whatever form you prefer, but I would suggest BNB because it is much cheaper to transfer BNB. Because one, Binance, this is its native token, and therefore their fees or the gas fees would be way cheaper as compared to transferring a different asset, and more specifically with a different network. It becomes costly because they need to cut also their share from that as well. So with cryptocurrency, it cuts out the need of having banks. So you have made your purchase of those crypto assets, so the next thing is now to ask for an address, a wallet address from your folks. Once they send it to you via WhatsApp, you copy that address, take it to your wallet, make a transfer of whatever amount you want to make, send. Now, once you have sent, those funds will reach their wallet within no time. Within no time. It wouldn't even take a day or even half or even 10 minutes. Remember, we're using RainBNB Optimism Network. So Optimism Network has lightning fast transaction speeds, up to 10,000 transactions per second. Now, that money has reached their wallet, assuming it's $10,000 or even $1,000. $1,000 has gotten to your dad's wallet. Now you've asked or you've shown them exactly how to convert those assets to local currency. So what happens next? Si anaituma from his wallet to his Binance account. From there, he sells those BNBs or those USDTs at the P2P exchange in exchange for M-Pesa. Remember, hapa hatutumii bank. There's an option of withdrawing or having that money, while selling it on the P2P. There's an option of sending it to your bank account, PayPal as well, or receiving airtime. In the same value of the asset that you have received. So there are so many options that you can choose from. But now you decide to send that money to your M-Pesa. Remember, M-Pesa has a limit of 500,000 Kenya shillings per day. So assuming maybe amekutumia $10,000. $10,000 converted to your local currency, you have about 1.3 million Kenya shillings. So how many transfers are you going to do before you can exhaust all that money? About 2 or 3. Leo utoe 500k. And there are actually people who can buy those assets worth up to 1 million, 10 million, depending on the capacity your accounts can hold. Kama ni bank, kama ni M-Pesa, kama ni Skrill, kama ni PayPal. Options ni mingi watu wangu. In the digital space, options are many. So you do not have to limit your mind or yourself to the resources available. Get onto the digital space. Cryptocurrency, blockchain is opening up things that we would not imagine possible in this analog space. So the next one, why cryptocurrencies are powerful for Africans, is it works 24/7. Not banking hours. Hapa hakuna masaa ya bank. Unajua with banks opens at maybe 7, 8, closed by 4, 5 p.m. That's it. You cannot do any more transactions via bank until now the next day. Or ikifika Friday, masaa iishe, now you have to wait until Monday, weekday. I mean, why are we still using the same old systems that we've been using since time immemorial? We need to adopt to new change and new ways of transferring money and making money. Now the next one is, with cryptocurrencies, it cannot be devalued by any one government. Hakuna government inaweza kama iseme ati now we are criminalizing. I believe they tried that with Bitcoin. Now look at how they are embracing it, as if they had nothing to do with trying to distract or disapprove of its growth. Because despite everything they did, let me call it a smear campaign. They did a serious smear campaign through these legacy media companies. CNN, BBC, all those walitumia wakaleta their so-called professionals in finance and all that shit. Some of them are calling it a bubble, a financial bubble that would burst or blow. Bro, Bitcoin is now at $110,000. Just one Bitcoin, one coin. Yo wakati waki trash talk, that was about while Biden was in power. So say from around 2017, 2018, these guys have been fighting Bitcoin. They have been telling people off of it, trying to see if they can devaluate the value of this asset. Remember, this thing is decentralized. It is not controlled by any single entity. So huwezi devalue aje? How? This is what is giving people liberation. And then now you're asking them, okay, achana nayo, chukueni hii yenye tunawakontrolia. It's much better. I mean, people are not stupid. People have seen the value of this asset. They have been seeing it since then, and they still see it now. And the more people are adopting it, is what is pushing the value to grow insanely. Now, they're expecting BTC to hit $1 million each, just one ikuwe na value over $1 million, and that will happen probably even before 2027 with the kind of projection of growth Bitcoin is having right now. This is some insane bull run. I mean, the other day it took a dip. It had climbed to about $90,000 to, it was almost getting to 100K. But then some panic happened during hii wakati ya tariff, when Donald was giving out tariffs to specific countries. Now, people panicked. Those people, how do I call them? Panic sellers, for lack of better terms. Panic sellers. People tried to dump Bitcoin to try and devaluate its value. Now, this is a tendency that happens with big investors to control the market.